Traditional custodians of the land we meet today and pay my respects to the elders past and present. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here today. So this is life cycle, and yeah, I'm quite excited about presenting this to the inner sustainability category. So, given that I've got two presentations back to back, then hopefully I will be able to fit everything in. So I think it's important to start with the definition of sustainability, which is in essence, the UN definition, what it is, and the way we see it is a guiding principle for whatever we do. So sustainability aims to meet present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, integrating and balancing these three dimensions: environmental, economic, and social. So the way we look at it in our project, we want to assess the design, material selections, and implementation against the emission reduction targets, very simple, and biodiversity and a biodiversity brief. We are wondering, and obviously, we're architects, we're creating something. How can we initiate and encourage behavior change? And then, of course, what can we learn from it? That leads to a sort of data-driven design. So we work with a company called Lit Consulting, and they provided the life cycle assessment for this project. So let's just go inside and just talk about what the drivers were for the project. First, our concept. So I grew up in a country with very limited access to resources that also had a wall around it. So everything that we did had to happen within. If you look at this, sort of in a philosophical sense, it provides you a very interesting framework how you actually sort of live. That country disappeared, and I ended up in a country with vast amount of resources and vast amount of space that you sort of just feel like you can grab when you need it. And obviously we are in a world with limited access, we are expanding our boundaries. So our approach is always, obviously you want to connect, you want to expand, you want to be open, but we also want to actually organize ourselves within. So when we look at this project, we started off with a very compact form, which obviously we know is very energy efficient. It also, we moved this to the side, which increases the perceived size of your backyard and also maintains actually a good site coverage. So you can see that here, the perception of the backyard is sort of much larger than it actually was previously. Then we opened it up, and it gave us the opportunity to insert design elements that become sort of that are sort of ESD driven, and then become drivers for sort of the planning and the articulation of the building. So there's a little courtyard on the southwest between the old and the new building. There's a winter garden that works as a thermal buffer. There are garden beds sort of against the glazing that reduce radiant heat. There's a void that basically works as a thermal chimney, and there's obviously sun shading that controls solar access. So you can sort of see that here how obviously the airflow sort of works in that building. So, and that obviously then, as I said, that drives the the design and the planning sort of internally, and it actually does really work. So there's a fish pond there between the bathroom and the living room, and when you open up your door and sort of the cool change comes, it pre-cools the air and actually works as evaporative cooling. And obviously, what we wanna, this is not rocket science, but obviously what it does also, I think it does change your behavior, and it probably stops you from turning on the air conditioning if you have one. We obviously also want to open up the house, sort of to the street, and this is the home office at the front, and obviously, if you put a desk on casters, then you can lower it out to the deck and you can work outside and can, engage with the neighbors. The winter garden, as I said, works as a thermal buffer between between the music room and the outside, and obviously can be open and closed according to temperature and weather conditions. The herb gardens outside. Actually, I forgot to mention that there are a lot of things that I did not wrong, that I could have improved in my own house, which I did in this project. We got a herb garden outside, and when you cook, then you got to go outside, and the weather is bad, and oh God. So I wish it would be closer to the building. So we moved it closer to the building, so you can just open the window and actually sort of an access. But obviously also we don't have data on that, but it obviously does reduce weight and heat as well. Having sort of vegetation against your glazing, and then obviously that assists with cross ventilation, and that obviously comes from the fish pond and then sort of escapes through the void at the top, and then obviously this just then actually makes a comfortable, creates a comfortable space where you can. 2 minutes? Okay, thank you. And obviously the thermal chimney, obviously it is a thermal chimney, but it is obviously also a place where you can rest and that's sort of an interactive element between upstairs and downstairs. And just briefly, ventilation. Ventilation is one driver, but views, connection to your neighborhood is another driver. Just briefly, thank you, Simon, I sent a message to Simon last week. Simon is here, one of the owners. Sent it out, Simon, are you going to the Wilco concert? And he said no, so can't. But I saw that in the climate group. That's terrific news. House continues to be great. We had a bunch of neighbors over last night and it was super fun. Pond is beautiful. Solar going on shortly also. I still have the book. But the exciting... Did you bring it? Sorry. But the exciting part of the presentation is the life cycle assessment. So, which actually gave us a lot of interesting data. So basically, briefly, global warming potential against the reduction emission targets of 50%, we achieved 79%, and that's benchmark is Australian average dwelling, including apartments. So the learnings are actually I'll get to the learnings in a second. Lit Consulting do this beautiful little graphics, which is sort of exciting for staff and everybody else because it's actually quite simple and reminds you what you can easily do. The learnings for us are building size really makes a huge difference. We all know this, but it's good to see the data. If you want to reduce your operational carbon, you increase your embodied carbon. But obviously, this is sort of, if you look at each stages of the assessment, embodied carbon is a weak point. Solar PV has a huge impact. Mechanical services, you got to actually look at the products. Some are good, some are not good. Material certification is important, and advocacy is very important. And then involving consultants earlier is very important too. So, and we obviously work together, and that's my team. Thank you for all working together on this project.